Welcome back to another episode of Ode to Ghosts. I'm co-host William.
I'm co-host Audrey.
We have 5 wonderfully spooky, scary stories for you today.
No video today, unfortunately.
Yeah, no video. Well, you're watching the video right now, but by video, we mean.
Yeah, but we're making up for it with the extra story, so.
Yeah, nothing too paranormal or interesting going on in the social media world. That also, I'm basically just saying I didn't look hard enough.
Well, there's plenty of spooky stuff going on in the social media world. We just have it in the form of written stories. So.
Yeah, we don't watch TikTok videos like Gen Zers. We read.
Well, I watch a lot of TikTok, but I'm just not on paranormal TikTok for some reason.
I'm kind of happy I'm not.
Yeah. Do you want to point out our new liquid death discovery?
This is our first time trying. Well, we haven't tried it yet, but this is the cherry obituary.
Sparkling water.
Yes.
We found the cases of them at Food Lion yesterday, and we were very excited. So
yes, we shop at Food Lion. It's fantastic. Only 2 grams of added sugar. Do we want to pop these now?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Do a taste test on.
Yeah, I'm going to need a nice wet mouth for.
Okay. Some ASMR moment.
Great. Cheers. Close enough.
Whoa. Very yummy.
Whoa.
That's actually really yummy.
Wow. Well done.
Dare I say my new favorite sparkling water?
Don't dare to say it. Just mean it.
Okay, I mean it.
Okay. Great job.
It's very sweet. I feel like if you're not a huge sparkling water fan, that you'd probably actually like that one.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, because it's only 2 grams of added sugar, which is only 4% of your daily sugar intake. Only 10 calories.
Yeah.
Why are we shouldn't be doing an ad right now.
Well, I wasn't trying to do an ad. I was just saying it was really yummy.
Yeah. Good job. Cherry obituary.
Okay, do we want to get into the first story?
Let's dive into whatever it is you have for us today.
Okay. So, this story is titled, I Lived in a Haunted House for 13 years, but it still finds me in my dreams. Ooh. Posted by the user Feels Decoded in the Paranormal subreddit. Some houses never let you go. For 13 years, my family and I lived in a house that always fell off. Something was wrong with it. We all felt it. The house itself wasn't old, but it carried a heaviness. Some rooms felt normal, others we avoided without knowing why. Upstairs was the worst. One night, my mom decided to sleep there. Just once. The next morning, she refused to let anyone else sleep upstairs again. She forced the entire family to sleep in one room downstairs, no explanations. Years later, I asked her why, and she said I knew I wasn't alone. There were multiple things in that room with me. I could feel them moving, fast. They would pass by my face so quickly that I could feel the air shift. I felt so drained, so uneasy, and that's when I knew my kids should not be sleeping there. And that was all she would say. But we already knew the house wasn't normal. Objects moved on their own. A hoodie flew across the room when no one was near it. My sister woke up one night fully dressed for school, swearing someone had woken her, only to realize it was 3 a.m. Then, there was the night I sleepwalked to the most haunted part of the house. I was never a sleepwalker, but one night my brother found me in the guest house bathroom, the one place in the house that always felt cursed. I was curled up on the floor crying in my sleep. He carried me back to bed. I didn't wake up until morning. I don't remember anything, but my body led me straight there. Then came the dreams. There was always a woman covered in black, her face hidden beneath a veil. She would whisper in a language I didn't recognize. The more she spoke, the more I felt paralyzed. I wasn't just scared, I was trapped inside my own body. Then a cat appeared. It jumped onto me and spoke, "Seek forgiveness from your Lord so you can wake up." This is in her dream, by the way. So, it's not like a real cat. Maybe.
Yeah, but that's
Maybe.
still kind of crazy.
Yeah. The second I forced the words out, I woke up. That should have been the end of it, except that I had seen this exact cat before, in real life. It used to watch me from the backyard, always sitting in the same spot, completely still. I tried to scare it away, but it never reacted. It never moved. Was it protecting me, or was it waiting for something?
I say protecting.
Yeah, for sure. Years after, we had already moved out of the house, and I had another dream, and I saw the same exact cat again. This time, it wasn't sitting in the backyard. It was walking through the desert, exhausted, like it had been traveling for miles. When it reached me, it spoke again. "I'm going to tell you something, and you decide what you want to do with this information." I told it to speak, and it said, "Look after your uncle." Then it disappeared.
No.
I woke up confused. I hadn't thought about that cat, the house, or my uncle in years. But when I told my mom about the dream, she froze, and she said, "Your uncle has been sleeping in our old house for a week now." I still don't know what to make of that. The last dream I had about the house was different. It was daylight, the sun was shining, but she was still there, the black-veiled woman. She stood in the same cursed spot as always, but this time I focused not on her, but on the place itself. And then it hit me. Everything that happened because of this spot. The second I realized it, she lost it. She didn't whisper spells this time. She didn't try to paralyze me. She screamed at me. Not in some demonic voice. She swore at me in Arabic, in a woman's voice. She was furious. It was like she had been waiting for someone to figure it out, and now that I had, even in a dream, she snapped. I woke up feeling drained but not scared. It was the first time I felt like I understood something. The weird thing is, although we moved years ago, I still dream of the house. None of my family does, but I still do. The house keeps appearing in my dreams, and every time it feels like it's waiting for me, like I never really left, and I don't know why. Any thoughts?
Are there any thoughts? I mean, obviously,
I'm about to read through some of the comments, but you can go ahead.
I'm about to say something extremely obvious. She was obviously more connected to the house than anybody else, even though other people in the house did have experiences with it. But the fact that she would like sleepwalk to like that point
Yeah,
in the house.
especially since she wasn't like a person who sleepwalked.
Slept, walk,
Sleepwalked.
sleep.
I'm not really seeing much in the comments that are really giving much of an explanation, just kind of like more similar experiences that people are just trying to relate. But
Wait, so tell me again, where did that lady first appear?
hold on, let me find it real quick.
Was it in the house?
Yeah.
In her dreams or in the house?
So I'm pretty sure she only saw the woman in her dreams. But obviously, paranormal things would happen, not in the dreams. But
I
yeah.
want to know what happened to the uncle.
I know, it's a cliffhanger, I feel like. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's any updates in the comments, but there's not any, so. Man.
Yeah. We need more information. You didn't chat at all with this person?
No, I just had a little conversation. Like, I just asked if I could share the story, and that was about it. But
like, I get the premise of it, but my brain is like really struggling to like.
What are you not understanding?
It's not that I'm not understanding anything. It could just be because I'm tired. But like, I want to know, like, so the cat that was in the dreams, she knew.
Yeah, the cat that she was seeing in her dreams was an actual cat that would just be in her yard a lot. That would just sit there staring at the house all the time. But I'm guessing she didn't think anything of the cat until she started having dreams about the cat giving her messages.
And what was the first thing it said? Like, accept Did it say accept the Lord as your...
Seek forgiveness from your Lord so you can wake up. Which, when you think about that, that's really creepy because it was like, was that night that she was having that dream, like a night where that veiled woman was planning on like possessing her or like attaching to her. So the cat kind of came to her and was like, you need to wake up kind of thing, you know?
The veiled woman could have been like a symbol of like, or not a symbol of, but like, the Grim Reaper.
Possibly,
Or like,
yeah.
just I want more information from this person because like...
So now,
I want
the
to
more
know.
I think about it, so with the uncle thing, even though we don't have an update on like what happened to him, I'm going to assume that he's fine because she got the message from him. I'm guessing either her or the mom probably reached out to him and was like, hey, by the way, this is what's going on.
Mhm.
But like, I'm wondering if the reason that in that later dream she had about the black veiled woman getting all angry and screaming at her was because when she realized what was going, like when the cat told her to look after her uncle and she realized that it's the house and not her, if the woman got really angry because she wanted to then try and take the uncle's soul or whatever, and now she knows that the uncle's going to be aware of her or something along those lines. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just want to know like religious background when it comes to this stuff is very interesting
Like if
to me.
she's
Like if she
religious.
is at all religious or if she's like borderline or whatever,
Mm.
because like I don't feel like the ask for forgiveness from your Lord thing just comes out of nowhere.
It could have been a situation where maybe she was like kind of feeling like a little bit unsure of her religious standing,
Yeah, like I want to know like,
or
was she going through a time of like deconstruction at that point? Like was she...
possibly.
Yeah, anything's possible. I want to know.
I can reach out to them again and
That's definitely a lot of
see.
personal information to ask, but like...
Well, maybe I won't ask specifically on like if like what their religion is, but I can ask them if they have an update about the uncle and if they have any other things they want to
Yeah, that would be
include.
nice.
And then if they respond by the end of the video, then I can mention it.
Cool.
Yes.
Good story.
Mm-hmm.
Before I jump into my story, we got an update
Oh.
from, or not, like, you know, the picture. From a story from the very first episode. It was the one about the house, the grandparents' house, and seeing the girl in the mirror over the
Mm-hmm.
fireplace and everything. The OP sent a picture of the area. It was just of the fireplace in the mirror, and I figured I would
Yeah, it's really creepy if
share
you try to
that.
imagine what she was seeing.
So it's somewhere over here on the screen right now. But like it definitely is, it gives off creepy vibes for sure. Like the candles on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I just based off this picture, I fully believe that you saw something you probably didn't want to see
Yeah,
in
definitely.
that mirror. So yeah, thanks for, I know it's a little bit late, but thanks for sharing that picture.
No, that's
Internal
great.
warfare.
I love being able to get an update one way or another.
Now this story I'm very excited about, and did you read it all the way through, the Gin Doctor story?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
That's
terrible. Well, hopefully you've forgotten some things.
Maybe I have.
But this is a very interesting story, and it's titled The Gin Doctor. submitted by Consistent Hall 3085 on the Paranormal subreddit. Um, I have never heard of anything like this before
Mm-hmm.
until now. Like,
Yeah, same.
I'm not even going to try to explain myself. I'm just going to take a sip of cherry obituary and then get into it. All right, this is the Gin Doctor. Let me begin by saying that I am a Muslim woman. I am not. This is them talking.
Duh.
Let me begin by saying that I am a Muslim woman, originally from the Middle East, and throughout my 36 years of life, I have experienced my share of paranormal events. But my encounter with the Jinn Doctor stands out as the most extraordinary of them all. When I was a baby in 1988, I had a blood problem that required a transfusion. Unfortunately, the blood I received was contaminated with HCV, also known as hepatitis C. I didn't learn about it until I was 16 when a routine test revealed my condition. A quantitative PCR test showed that the viral load in my blood was in the millions, indicating a severe infection. To spare you the medical details, I'll just say that I underwent multiple harsh treatments, many of which had side effects as intense as chemotherapy. Despite all of this, the results were disappointing. A couple of years later, my father told me about a friend who had seen a healer in Jordan. This friend had been diagnosed with liver cirrhosis and was given less than 6 months to live. Yet, after visiting the healer, he returned with a completely healthy liver. Desperate for a solution, we decided to book a flight to Jordan the following week. It was my father, my brother, who has type 1 diabetes, and me on this journey. When we arrived and met the healer, I was surprised to find that he looked like an ordinary man in his 30s, handsome, neatly dressed in a suit, and living in a beautifully furnished villa. But there was something unusual about him. He told us that, quote, they could heal liver problems, but that they were still working on a treatment for diabetes, so there was nothing he could do for my brother. I couldn't help but notice his peculiar demeanor. Though he looked at us, his eyes seemed distant, as if he were seeing something beyond us. His way of speaking was also odd. He would pause for long moments before responding, almost as if he were translating for someone who didn't speak the same language. The healer explained the treatment. I would need to spend 3 consecutive nights at his farmhouse in the suburbs of Amman. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. The instructions were specific. I had to perform wudu, the ritual washing before prayer, and recite 3 to 4 specific verses from the Quran. Is that how you say it? Quran? The book of the Quran?
I'm not entirely sure.
Thanks for your help. I was to lie on my back all night without turning to my side, and if I needed to use the restroom, I was to recite the verses before getting up again upon returning to bed. The farmhouse was sparse and quiet, with just a couple of twin beds in the main area. I brought my own pillow, bedsheet, and blanket. That first night, fear gripped me. I prayed fervently, a lot of big words here for my little brain, and recited more verses than the healer had instructed, seeking comfort and protection. As the hours passed, I began to feel sleepy. Suddenly, I felt my body being lifted about a foot off the mattress. My heart raced, but I stayed still. Then, I felt a strange sensation in my abdomen, specifically on the right side where my liver is located. It was as if invisible hands were squeezing and moving my liver. Oddly, there was no pain, just pressure and movement. After some time, the sensation stopped, and I drifted into a peaceful sleep, waking occasionally but feeling surprisingly rested. A few hours later, my father woke me, saying the healer had told him it was time to leave. We repeated the process for the next 2 nights. On the final day, the healer gave me 3 large bottles of water, which he referred to as blessed water. He instructed me to drink a small cup at specific times each day for a month. We returned home, and I followed his instructions. After the month was over, I went for another PCR test. To my amazement, the results showed that the viral load in my blood was 0, not detected. Though the virus Though the virus was technically still present in my blood, my liver function tests came back perfectly normal. In fact, the doctor at the lab told me my liver seemed healthier than most people without HCV. I was extremely happy. After years of failed treatments, this outcome felt miraculous. But I couldn't help wondering, how had the healer done it? Was it some form of advanced paranormal medicine, or was it witchcraft? When I told my grandmother about the experience, she explained that jinn are believed to have advanced medical knowledge far beyond humans. She said some jinn help humans through intermediaries, acting as doctors for ailments conventional medicine can't cure. She told me the healer was likely a medium, channeling the abilities of a jinn doctor. Even now, I don't know what to make of it. Was I truly treated by a jinn doctor, or was it something else entirely? What do you guys think?
Well, first of all, it's amazing that she was able to suddenly be healthy again.
Right, whether it was that or not.
Yeah. I just think that entire thing is very cool. And I don't really know much about that culture and I've also, like you said, I've never heard anything about a jinn doctor before, so I don't know much at all to really give my input, but overall, I think that is pretty cool.
There's more information
Ooh.
that I don't know if you read in the comments.
I don't remember if I looked at the comments or not.
The OP shared her test results, which I'm not going to put up on the screen. She has stuff blocked out, but I'm not going to do that. But she said, I don't mind showing my test results. Actually, I'm grateful for your request as it gives me the chance to share a funny experience I had with an American doctor here in the U.S. I moved to the U.S. in 2019, so my old test results before the healer visit are back home at my parents' house. But I have my most recent tests at the American doctor's office that I will be adding to this reply. So here's the story. After settling in the States, I went to see a family doctor who referred me to a gastroenterologist since I'd told them about my medical history. They thought it would be a good idea to check on my liver just in case. The gastro I saw was the most ignorantly arrogant doctor I have ever met. I told him that I was treated and pretty much cured from the virus, and for over a decade, all my HCV viral load PCRs have shown a result of not detected. Obviously, he didn't believe me and proceeded to ask me about the genotype of my hepatitis C, to which I responded with, I don't remember. I haven't discussed the matter with anyone in a long time. He looked at me like I was the stupidest woman on the face of the planet and then ordered a whole HCV panel including a PCR, genotype, liver fibrosis, and tumor markers tests. I asked him if he could order some tests for deficiency of vitamins and minerals that might be causing my depression, D, B6 through 12, iron, zinc, etc. But he refused, saying, this is not a store where you go and say, I want some of this, I want some of that. I am the professional, and I'm the one who decides what you need and what you don't.
Oh my
He was awfully rude, and I decided to never go back to him again. So I asked the lady at the front desk to schedule my follow-up appointment with another physician at the same clinic. When the results came out, it was exactly what I expected. The PCR viral load showed not detected. The genotype test showed unable to identify genotype due to lack or small number of viral units in sample, and the liver fibrosis indicated no fibrosis, which means no sign of inflammation. The new physician I saw told me, you look perfectly healthy. I don't know why Dr. X requested all these tests in the first place. I didn't feel the need to tell her that some things cannot be explained through science. So here it is, my latest test results. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. But yeah, it says not detected, not indicated. People were asking for like the healer's information. She said she doesn't have it. It was her dad's friend who made out the arrangements. I remember his name was Mohammed. I'm not gonna butcher that. And his farmhouse was in Al Zarqa town on the suburbs of Amman, but that's all I remember. I tried looking him up to find any information about him on the internet, but I couldn't find anything. If somebody lives in Jordan and knows something about him, please let us know.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, so not really spooky. It's actually quite the opposite. I just want to know, like, these things. Uh, I want to know if it was just luck, coincidence. But I mean, just the fact that
Well,
she,
she
like,
felt it though.
yeah, but I mean, let's be real.
Let's be real.
Yeah, let's be real. If you are in a state like that and you are focused on what's actually wrong with you, body to mind connection, you can start feeling things in that.
Okay, but she said that she felt her body lift like a foot off the bed.
I know. Sorry, I'm not being devil's advocate enough right now.
Yeah, apparently not.
Super cool story. And
I believe your story 100%.
I believe you 99%. No, I do.
Don't listen to him.
I do believe you. And it's super interesting. And I thank you for sharing. And I'm
Yeah.
glad I hope you're still doing well.
Mm-hmm.
When was that? When was this shared? I know it was recent. Yeah, 7 days ago. So yeah, I assume you're
Yeah.
doing well. Glad you're doing well, regardless of what cured you, even if the Gen Doctor cured you. And we both know that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Don't even.
All right.
All right.
It's your turn.
Okay. So this one is titled, we're going back to scary and spooky. Extremely sinister experience as a young teenager. Posted by Quigley the Mystic is the user.
Quickly.
And it's in the paranormal subreddit. Okay.
We might as well. Sorry. We might as well just own this subreddit at this point. We're reading.
That's where most of them come from, it seems like.
Yeah, we're
there's
reading
a few
everything.
other ones that I've found some on, but anyways. So they're describing the creature in the first sentence. Extremely tall, skinny, grayish white entity with no features like a face. This was about 15 years ago. I still get goosebumps and chills every time I talk about or think about this thing. It has traumatized me for the past 15 to 16 years. Best described as a human-shaped Slender Man type entity with no clothes.
It's like I'm there.
Imagine a featureless human shaped made out of gray modeling clay that resembles a naked Slender Man type looking thing, at least 10 to 12 feet tall, has the ability to induce an adrenaline rush followed by a paralyzing fear in you, even though you had no idea it was around or anything to make you that scared. Anyways, here's how it all went down. I'm 30 now, and I was around 14 or 15 at the time. I still live in the same house to this day. I was playing my Xbox in my room at night with my window open, and suddenly I got this cold ice feeling in my veins from head to toe in an intense rush, and I was rendered completely paralyzed from fear. Literally out of nowhere, this just hits my body, and I knew something was behind me outside of my wide open window. Never have I ever been that scared in my life since then or ever before that point. So, I just knew deep down that I was being watched by something. It felt evil, and I felt in danger beyond words to describe. Finally, I somehow got enough nerve to turn around, and I broke free of this paralyzing fear that was gripping my whole body, and I spun around, purposely avoiding looking out my window, dove onto my bed, being it was right below that same window. I hid under my blankets and was listening for anything that could tell me if there was something out there.
Sounds like something I would do.
Yeah, well, you don't seem to react the best when scary things happen, is all I'm gonna say. I hid under my blankets and was listening for anything that could tell me if there was something out there. I was confused and scared about what I was feeling and what was going on. After a few minutes of not hearing anything, I grabbed the windowsill and slowly peeked over and out my window to see if I could see anything. At the time, I owned a PT Cruiser that was parked outside about 15 feet away, directly adjacent from my window. And to my astonishment, this tall, gray thing looked like it had a fuzzy-like static that clung to its entire body. It stood up, turned its head in my direction, and it had no face at all, just flat and gray. It seemed as if it stood up from a crouched position behind my car. The top of the cruiser was a little bit below the waist of this thing, extremely tall and thin. Its arms and legs were long and skinny, and I don't remember seeing hands because I was locked in its faceless form looking at me, and the static cloud kind of covered and made parts hard to see. Another weird characteristic was as it moved, and only when it moved, it made a sound like rushing wind or a river rushing from a distance, like white noise, or really loud TV static noise with a wind sound. But when it stopped moving, the sound would also stop. It was a cold winter night with no wind or no sounds either, so because of that, it stuck out and was super out of place sounding. This flat, faceless thing turned towards me. I assume it was looking at me, then in the most robotic-looking way possible. Its waist turned away from me, then its upper body, then its head turned away last, and it rushed out into the darkness into my field without skipping a beat. Without skipping a beat in stride, it walked over a 5-foot cattle fence like it was nothing.
Ew.
Ew. Yeah. As I mentioned before, it made this rushing static wind sound the whole time. The static smoke that clung to its body became real static looking and like a heavy smoke. It trailed behind it and slowly fell to the ground and disappeared after a few seconds. It walked until the darkness swallowed it up and I could not see it anymore, and it disappeared. Again, the top of my PT was a little below its waist. I've done some research, and I've done some research, and I think it's a Slender Man is the closest thing. I know it sounds nuts. If anybody has seen the same thing and can share their experience with me, that would be great. I have been fruitless in my search for other experiences or sightings of this thing with the same characteristics as mine. Thanks in advance. And then there's a little bit more. This experience scared the hell out of me so bad it wasn't until about 3 years ago I was, for the first time in 11 years since that experience, that I was actually able to go out into that field to shut the chickens in for the night. I really feel like I'm going to see this thing again, and when I do, it's going to try and take me. The way it looked at me the whole time as it turned to walk away wasn't a fleeing type of action. It's almost like it was an, oh yeah, just wait till I catch you next time attitude as it walked away. Quite literally insane for me to even think about it, because it really happened and is straight out of Donnie Darko. I don't know what that is. Do you? Okay.
Put it up here.
If that's real, then what's not, Weird as shit. That's the end of that.
There's obviously a lot of stories of Slenderman, but I've never heard a story of somebody actually thinking they've physically.
So I actually went and I did a little bit of research on this, and we can put the photo up here because I do have the photo and I can try to find it really quick. So I can show you. But along with a lot of people in the comments, I also believe that it might have been a crawler.
Oh, no.
Have you heard of a crawler before?
Yes.
And I did ask this person where they were from, because crawlers are more commonly spotted or experienced in the western part of the United States, and they're from Washington. So makes a lot of sense.
Oh.
Yeah, geological dead center of the state, which, if I'm remembering correctly, I'm pretty sure that has a lot of forest. I think I'm pretty sure a lot of Washington is covered in forest, but either way, pretty creepy. My phone's all the way over there, so I can't. I'll just pull up a picture on here of a crawler.
I'm scared. I know what they are, but I don't remember exactly
what they look like.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I typed in crawler and it showed up with a 4-wheeler looking car.
4-wheeler looking car.
Like a 4-wheeler. Ugh. These are so creepy.
I'm scared. I don't know what to expect.
So there's a lot of pictures.
Show me a cartoon one.
A cartoon one?
No, I'm just kidding. Whatever. I scared you with the other one last episode. So.
Sorry, I'm trying to find a good picture that's not super animated or really blurry.
Take your time. I'm going to take another sip of my liquid death.
You do that. Western Nightcrawler, I think.
Any luck?
No, I keep trying to type in different keywords, but then it keeps giving me different things.
While you're doing that,
Yeah, do something to distract.
We have merch.
Mm-hmm.
It's only one merch, but it's pretty cool. We just got the little ghost on the front. It says Ode to Ghost Podcast on the back. You can get it
Here we go.
in black, red, purple, yellow, maroon. I think that's all the colors.
Did you say, isn't there like a green?
No, I don't
No?
think so.
Hmm.
But go to spirittalkpodcast.com, and that's where it's hanging out. We would love to see you repping us. Send us pictures on Instagram
Yes.
at Ode to Ghost Podcast or any other social media. I'm pretty sure that's our social media handle everywhere. You done yet?
Yeah. So this one is like, I know the person said it didn't really have a face, but this is like what most of the pictures look like. This one is animated. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Wait, is that? It looks like it has 2 sets of feet on one leg or something.
Well, it's probably like it's animated, so it's probably like an AI version of what a crawler looks like.
It
But generally like that is the idea of what it looks
gives me
like.
a mix between like Slender Man and Siren Head
Siren Head.
vibes.
Why Siren Head?
I guess it's just the lankiness. I don't know. Also, while you're talking about Slenderman, I was thinking that would be a really fun story for us to do a members only video on eventually about the story of, or not, it's not a story, it actually happened. The girls who like sacrificed their friend to appease Slenderman. If you haven't heard about that, don't look it up because we're going to talk about it.
I'm sure most people have probably heard of it, but
Yeah.
maybe not like the whole shebang.
It would be fun to do a like an urban legends
Yeah.
creepypasta
I
thing though.
love urban legends.
Siren
It's
Head
one
is
of my
so
favorite.
fascinating to me. That's like
Yeah.
that's one of my favorites for sure. It's just like so terrifying. I feel like I'm like shadowing over the story that we just listened to, but that's like super.
Well, I mean, we're leading into discussion. So.
I know. It's another one of those things where like you're much better than I am because I wouldn't even live in that area anymore if I encountered something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess they said that they were 30 years old now, but like they were a teenager when it happened, so it's not like they had much choice. They couldn't really exactly leave.
So are they 30 years old and still living in that same area?
Pretty sure, because they mentioned that like 3 years ago they got up the courage to go out there. But again, I don't know if they're still living there or if it's like their parents still live there and they just go and visit. So I don't know the context of that, but yeah. But I mean, like they said, it took them like 10 years to even get the courage to go out to that field.
Yeah, that's...
So, I mean, it had to have been absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, props to you for going back there.
I would probably never go out in that field, at least like at night when it's dark.
I would never go back to the state of Washington, I don't think. Like if I go to a state and that's the place where I first experienced something like that, that just means I never can go back to...
What if something paranormal happened in your parents' house or your grandma's house? You'd never go back to South Carolina ever?
Well, okay. Maybe not maybe not the state, but like if
I was going to say that's pretty
if something
extreme.
happened in my grandmother's house with, let's say, one of the hundreds of dolls that she has in there.
Yeah. Then you would never go back to her house? I feel like you would.
I don't think so. That would be... This is a good segue, actually. Saying that, like, I've never really had any paranormal experiences before. However, at that house, I had a dream. I actually didn't have the dream at that house, but I had a dream right before I was supposed to go to that house that there's this like small room in the upstairs that is like right by where like all the dolls and stuff are. Dolls that
It's
don't
the
have
room
anything to
that
do with
I
it.
usually end up sleeping in.
Yeah. And I had a dream where I was like trying to walk out of the room and I got like violently sucked back into it and like the door slammed and like I could not get out. And that was pretty much the dream. And I woke up
Mm-hmm.
terrified. And then whenever I went there, I think it was like the next weekend or two
Yeah,
weekends
it
after that,
was.
I could not walk past that room.
He had to have me walk him to his room for the night.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude,
I had to go close the door and walk him to his room.
I was like, because I don't usually get that way about things, but I was like, I
Yeah.
don't want anything to do with that
I
room.
mean, I get it. Like, I've had dreams before where especially like in my old house, and granted, like I was younger, but I feel like if this happened to me now, I would still react the same. Like, I would have dreams about the Chucky doll. It haunted me for so long. And what's kind of funny about it is that I watched those movies when I was like really young. My parents like put me onto that movie when I was like 5 or 6
Shout out
years old.
Audrey's parents.
They're great. Um and I had no issue watching those movies when I was that age, and then when I got to like 11 or 12, all of a sudden something happened and I started like having nightmares about Chucky all the time. And it got so bad to where I'd be scared of certain parts of the house, specifically the hallway that would lead to like the bathroom, because you'd have to walk past the laundry room, and there wasn't a door on the laundry room. It was kind of just like an open walkway to it, but we had like a curtain over the entryway of it,
Hmm.
and it was always really dark. So every time I had to walk past it to go to the bathroom and back, I would like run past it.
Yeah, I remember being freaked out by that
And I
area
mean,
too.
that was completely renovated by the time you saw it. So it was like older
But
and
it's still
creepier when
like,
I had that. But yeah, or I would have to open the shower curtain when I go into the bathroom every single time because I was convinced that Chucky would be behind the shower
mhm.
curtain. And it was
Like
bad.
I still get scared over
So
stupid shit like that. And I really wish
yeah.
I'm definitely gotten better, especially like living somewhere where I don't get creeped out.
Yeah. Well, you got to start watching like horror movies with me. You took a
No.
big step and you watched it
I didn't watch
with
all of
us.
it.
Not all of it, but
No, but
well,
yeah,
because we didn't
the
finish
the
it.
parts that I saw were nowhere near as bad as I thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
But you won't catch me watching Chucky. You won't catch me watching Annabelle. You won't catch me
So
watching The
I haven't
Exorcist.
watched
Any of that
any
stuff.
of the Child's Play movies since I started having those nightmares. I tried watching it one time and I turned it off, but it's been years, so I might try and watch them again because
I
they
hope you
are like
enjoy that.
good
Watch that
movies
tomorrow
if
night
you're
without me.
well, we're not going to watch it tomorrow night. That's
Okay.
too much.
Anyway, but yeah, mm-mm. You would have to pay me to watch it.
How much?
A lot. An undisclosed amount at this time, actually.
Well, I want to watch it because I really do like horror movies, especially the older, like kind of more classic horror films.
Well, yeah,
And
like
I mean, I don't know if you would, I think you would call Child's Play a more classic horror film. It's older and a lot of people know of it. But so I would love to be able to get back into those, but I was just scarred for a point in
I would
time for
much
some
rather
reason.
watch like gory thrasher thriller movies
Those are the kinds I don't
than
like. I like thrasher movies like um Scream is my all-time favorite horror movie.
yeah, that I enjoyed that one.
I love Scream. Um
Like I low key want to watch Terrifier, but I probably won't.
I will not be watching Terrifier. That's the kind of slasher that I cannot watch. I don't like gore.
But I'm saying I would rather watch that than like stuff with a
Mm.
bunch of jump scares. I'm not saying that doesn't have jump scares in it, but like
Mhm.
Scream's a good level for me.
Yeah, Scream is very mild, I feel like,
Very much so.
but
There's
it's
like
still
maybe
just
two
really
jump
good.
scares.
I don't even
And
think there's really any jump scares. It's just I don't know. I just
anyway,
like mystery. I like thriller. I like all that kind of stuff. So I feel
yeah.
like that's perfect. But
Just keep me away from everything else.
yeah. I think, have you seen like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th?
No, I do want to watch those though.
You
I
have to
think
watch those. I
those I
mean,
would
those are
enjoy. I
just
think
must-sees. And I also want to watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre again. It's been forever since I've seen that.
that one's extremely gory,
Well, so
to
it's
my
older.
knowledge.
It's a pretty old movie, so there's not super graphic gore.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess.
I don't mind gore if if it's not super graphic. It's not like the act of it happening that necessarily bothers me in movies, but if I'm able to like see
Every
every
single
detail of what's
tube
going on, I
and
hate that.
prolapse and yeah.
What? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
I know we got kind of sidetracked with that,
yeah.
but
Enough
that's kind of the
about
point.
us.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
anyways, do you have your story prepared?
Perhaps.
Okay.
Let's
hear
look. So this story is an email submission from Melissa. There's no title for it, but I will just start reading it as one does on this podcast. She says, not a ghost story per se, but a great story recounted as factual by one of my husband's best friends. I'm a friend of your... Okay, whatever. It has to do with a backpacking trip into the high Cascades many years ago. Two teenage boys, maybe early 20s, parked at the trailhead, loaded their packs with the necessities, beer, and headed up the trail to a rocky ledge they had been to before. The trail was really steep and in bad shape. In fact, they realized they were actually following a stream bed / waterfall course more than the actual trail. They got to the top just above tree line at dusk, set their tent, cooked their little meal, and had some beers. They went to bed in their sleeping bags and the narrow tent. Brilliant night, lots of starts, very cold and silent. Suddenly, they woke to hear something coming up the mountainside and crossing the rocky promontory. I'm going to go with that. Dave, our friend, said it sounded very heavy as there was a thudding, scratchy sound on the bare rock. Sounded cautious, but it was noisy enough to wake him. He wanted to look out, but their heads were at the other end of the tent. He would have to sit up and scooch down to the tunnel entrance to look out, and he was feeling pretty scared, as one would. Decided to wait to see what would happen next. His friend was awake too, but they didn't speak to each other. As the steps approached, they thought they heard raspy breathing. Then, the steps stopped right beside the tent. Something then pressed down from one end of the tent to the other, a full 7 feet. Whatever it was had a very long arm span to keep the pressure on across that length. Oh boy, they were petrified now. Too scared to try to look out, too scared to do anything, but wait to see what happened next. Dave said he felt the weight of whatever it was pressing across his face as the being explored the tent surface. Bam! They woke bolt upright to bright... Oh, whoa. They woke up upright to bright daylight. How could that be?
Interesting.
There's no way he fell back asleep during all of this. His friend flew out of the tent, stuffing his things in his pack, and started running for the trail. Dave said, "Wait up. What the hell happened to us?" He headed down the trail too, but left behind some stuff, just too much of a hurry to even care. They fairly ran down that steep, treacherous trail, and Dave tried to get his friend to stop and talk about it. No way. They made it to the car, threw their stuff in, and spun out of the trailhead parking lot. Finally, Dave got his friend to talk. I never, ever talk about this. Don't ever ask me. From that day on, Dave never spoke with his friend again. When he tried to call, he hung up. When he stopped at his house, his mom said he didn't want to see him. In conclusion, Dave wonders what happened up there. A Sasquatch? Aliens? A moose with broad antlers? He is most troubled by the missing time. From that point in the middle of the night with something feeling them through their tent, to the point where hours later he woke bolt upright in the middle of the morning. It was hours. Lost. Were they abducted? Were they hypnotized? Gassed? And the fact that his buddy never wanted to talk about it indicated to Dave that he might have remembered something. Something too frightening or disturbing to ever want to recall. That's about the story. That's about the spooky story I have. Dave swears it's 100% true, and I've recounted it to you as I remember him telling us one evening on a camping trip long ago. Not a ghost story and nothing made up, told as the straight, honest truth as he remembers it. What do you think? Enjoy your podcasts, Melissa.
I don't like that. I feel like that sounds like aliens, in my opinion, because of all the lost time.
Yeah, but I feel
But it
like
could also be like some sort of spirit or something of some sort. Like, I don't know.
with most abductions though, you remember at least like being on the like ship, or
No.
most recounts that I've heard have been of.
There are plenty of people who believe that they've been abducted even though they have no memories of like actually being abducted.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, I'm not necessarily like a expert on what goes on alien UFOs, but I would assume that the point of them abducting you and like putting you to sleep to abduct you essentially would be that you are asleep the whole time and are not to remember. So I'm sure that there are plenty of people who don't remember.
All I can think about is the first episode of South Park, the anal probe.
Oh my gosh. That's all you can think
That's
about.
that's exactly what happened. I do
Okay.
think, but what would the pressure have been? Like, what would have been?
Trying to locate where they were in the tent?
I think
I don't know
aliens is the way to
though.
go on this one though,
Yeah.
because I mean, hypnotized doesn't. I don't know. Gassed, definitely. I don't think gassed makes sense. Oof.
There will be a whole episode at some point talking about aliens and UFOs and everything. So
Yeah, but I want
hopefully
to
by
know.
then we'll be a little bit well versed on that. But yeah, I don't know. That's
Like, he obviously knows something.
seems seems like it. I don't know. That's really weird that
It
he
is,
wouldn't want to speak to him specifically.
or maybe when they were abducted, they did something to his mind that like is preventing him from, like, legitimately preventing him from talking about it.
Maybe, or like they threatened him maybe.
Yeah, and that's like why he stopped talking to
Yeah,
him
that's
altogether.
possible.
Myth busted.
Ooh. Well, not myth busted.
Uh, Story busted.
Mm.
We figured it out. That was a good
That's a
change.
pretty good theory, honestly, that if they were abducted that he remembers and that he was threatened to never speak on it.
But this is going back
They'd
to
come back
the
to him
they
and get
didn't
him.
remember. Well, I don't know.
Well,
Because like
because like
why?
you said, if the one guy remembers, then he could have been threatened to not say anything, and if the other guy doesn't remember,
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's a good story. That was a good change of pace story to get off
Mm-hmm.
of like demons and crawlers
Well, we're gonna get right back
to
to it with this one.
UFOs. Thank you, Melissa. Good
Yes, thank you.
story.
Well, hate to break it to you, but we're getting back to the creepy, cryptid stuff
Well, I mean,
with this one.
that's what we're here for, I guess.
But so I'm gonna preface and say that this one, similar to the one that you told the really long one that you told last episode, this one's a little bit longer too. And if this one is true, it is insane and really scary. And this was posted over a year ago, and the person who posted it hasn't been active on Reddit pretty much since then. And
They got abducted.
maybe, which honestly is a little scary once you hear the story, knowing that he hasn't been active on here. But so I don't have any other like extra details or anything from him because I haven't been able to contact him. But
Wait, so how did you get permission to read the story?
well, I'm just reading it off of here. This is the one, like, I told you that he hasn't been active on here at all since then.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. So this one is from a different subreddit, actually. We're not reading one from the paranormal subreddit this
Is
time.
it the Paranormal Encounters?
No, it's
Is it
from
ghosts?
Wendigo Stories.
Okay.
And it was posted by the user Kahui? I don't know. It's another silly sounding username.
Hope
but
you're alive, Kahuai.
yeah, and if you happen to hear this at all, feel free to reach out with other details and let us know that you are alive, because this is insane. So the title is Something is on My Property.
Get off my lawn.
I have lived in my home in rural Michigan for roughly 4 years now and have had a mostly normal experience until recently. I am an avid hunter, and as such, every deer season I'm on my property and normally go out for days to get a good buck. Well, last year I had a small incident where I broke my right arm during my final year of high school. I ended up missing the season because of it, but my dad went for our family because that's how we got fed around the winter time. After just 2 days, he was back and was freaking out about what he saw the night prior. He told me that one of his deer had been ripped from his truck and his window was shattered in the process. We ended up going back with rifles to see if it was some gang of homeless people, and he puts in parentheses that they had previous experiences with people. And we ended up finding nothing. I thought nothing of it again until recently. I was excited to get out there and left at midnight the day hunting season started. I like to have camp set up for at most a week's worth of supplies and normally indulge in expensive food that I make in my small wooden shack in the woods. However, this year I got some beef jerky and 2 pounds of tuna. It was about to go bad, and ended up taking 10 pounds of frozen stew with me, which I would use the meat from the deer to make. I got to my spot around 3 in the morning. However, I just felt, not sure how to describe it, I guess I'd call it paranoid. I kept thinking I saw movement in the ground, which was just my tarp moving in the wind. I figured I needed some sleep before going out, so I ended up sleeping until 6 a.m. or so. When I awoke, I heard the sound of rustling in my bags. I looked at the entrance to my hut to see what looked like a very small deer going through my bear bag, which I forgot to hang up. I yelled and swatted it away, and off it went. I remember this awful stench and seeing the thing run in almost a limping way, but there was no way this thing was hurt. It was like looking at a speeding car going 200 miles per hour. It was gone instantly. After taking in what just happened, I looked in my bag to see that I didn't get much, just chewed the bag a lot. I made some coffee and warmed some soup before putting it in my thermos and getting on my way. I got to my spot around 30 minutes after that and sat there for roughly an hour and a half before seeing the most beautiful buck ever. I let it get closer to me and took the shot, which went right through the heart. I was more than happy with that and collected my prize. I went back to camp to put it in a few trash bags and in my oversized coolers, which I had attached to the back of my little hut. After securing the deer, I decided it was lunchtime and made more soup. While still smelling the stench from last night, but slightly fainter, I fell asleep in my bed while listening to a podcast and woke up around 5 p.m. I decided to turn in for the night when I realized that my door was open. I had a space heater right next to me, so I didn't notice the cold during my nap. As I got close to the door, I noticed a deer right outside of my hut. I froze as it stared at me. It looked sick, fur that was messed up, eyes that seemed slightly too small for their sockets, and horns that seemed to be very disfigured. I shouted and it slowly backed away, which terrified me. The woods were silent as this creature was before me. It did not seem scared, but curious. I slammed the door shut and clenched my rifle as I sat facing the door in my sleeping bag. I did not leave for the rest of the night until I was awoken at what I believe was 5 a.m. by the sound of metal being ripped apart. I ran out of my house with my gun drawn and my headlamp on the highest setting. Big mistake. As I got to the back of my shack, I saw what I can only describe as a bear that was skinny, had horns, and was on its hind legs. I locked eyes with it and saw that this time they were far too big for the sockets. It was completely still, staring into my soul. I shot it. I'm not proud that that was my first reaction, but I think that that was the right choice as it pounced at me and slammed me to the ground. In my tumble downwards, I had shot again and hit the beast. it let out this blood-curdling scream that sounded like you had shot a gorilla and a Karen from 7-Eleven. I ran as fast as I could out of there, all the while hearing more and more screaming behind me. I did not stop until I saw the fence surrounding my backyard. I was covered in cuts. My gun was now clenched so tightly that my knuckles looked like a ghost's forehead. I looked back as the screams had ceased, only to see the deer from earlier, but only a few yards behind me. I unloaded into the animal, which dropped and let out another scream. I managed to get inside and woke my entire family to tell them the situation. The cops were called and searched the property. I showed them the deer, and it was still there, but it seemed hollow. Its insides were very small and looked like it had been deflated. It was a husk of a deer in my eyes, skin ripped from its flesh and used as a suit by some creature. 2 days later, I look up from my newspaper and see a massive buck with a hole near its heart, with small orange eyes. I have not left my house since, and every time I look out in the night, I see more. I'm scared to be in my own home. My family are all in the basement right now, and I'm boarding windows. Our car tires are slashed, and the motorcycle has gone missing. A few hours before writing this post, I found the door to the garage open. As I stepped out, guns drawn, and the door was torn from the hinges. And then he puts, "Help me." And then, I'm not sure how long after this, there was an update put up, but he says, "Update. I have over the past weeks made somewhat of a peace treaty with it. I hunt deer and give it 5 a week, and it seems to be okay with that. I have tried to get a video of it, but it has not shown up or gotten aggressive and destroyed my equipment. I have listed my house on various sites and have spoken to multiple priests about a blessing on the property. I'm going to go as far away as I can and take almost nothing with me but a gun, money, and my kids. I will warn the buyers of the danger and make it seem more believable till they see it. I will not sell to families with children. I will not sell to anyone who is too old to defend themselves. I've written a guide and put it on the mantle and made sure it gets to the new owners. I will give an update in the following months as I will come back under the premise of doing free housework to feed and persuade the thing to leave or die." And that's the last thing that we hear from them. I'm scrolling through the comments and I don't see anything from them. Besides one response at the same time as it was posted asking what area he lives in, and he said Monroe area. I'm not sure what state that is off the top of my head, but Michigan.
These kinds of stories make me never want to do anything ever again.
Yeah. So, like I said, considering that this is completely true, I
don't even have a discussion for this.
It sounds like, I don't know,
Like it described, at least the bear thing described a wendigo perfectly.
yeah, for sure. And then plus, like, the area that he's in, like Michigan, like that is, people in the comments seem to be concerned. Like, someone says, "Sounds like you were in a very serious situation. Best to keep your gun at hand and have fire ready. Bullets need to be silver and blessed." Wendigos will attack you mentally, physically, or spiritually, so it's best to be prepared on all fronts. Yeah, and I've gone to this person's profile. They haven't been active on Reddit at all.
Do they have like a link to social medias or anything?
I don't believe so, but I'll check.
Or like email or anything? Like, I don't even know what else to say other than like, I hope you're alive.
Oh. So, looks like since I found this story, they've commented something under some other random thing. So I think they're alive.
Okay.
So that's good. But yeah, I don't have any other like update on the story. So. Yeah.
Like that, this is the first story I think that I could like actually picture throughout the whole time, like in my head.
Yeah. I just think it's crazy, like how, I mean, obviously, like, yes, it's very scary, but I think it's crazy, like, how it was so scary and, like, dangerous to him that he is, like, moving out immediately, you know?
He is an example of me.
I feel like this is a good example of what you should do. I feel like we have so many stories where people are just like,
no,
oh,
legitimately, every other story we've had has been like, oh, well, I'm just going to stay here and figure it out.
mm-hmm.
This
Which
guy.
sometimes I feel like it really depends on what's going on. But like, this is something where it is definitely smart to get the hell out of there.
Like, unless it's a circumstance of a ghost cat, I'm leaving.
Exactly.
Legitimately, every other story that we've had, I've been like, why are you still hanging around?
Yeah. And I mean, I guess like in this case, he also kind of doesn't have a choice because the garage door was ripped from the hinges. So it's clearly trying to hurt them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, since you've commented, I'm assuming that's
Glad you're
you
alive.
commenting and not the wendigo.
Hopefully. Hopefully you're out of there.
Yeah, if you can, I would like be obnoxious about trying to get in touch with this person because
I'll message them and see. Doesn't seem like they're super active on here, but I will definitely try.
Because I would love an update on this one.
Messaging them as we speak.
She's leaving me hanging again. Hey guys, we have a subreddit. You should go join it and leave your stories there. So not only will we see it, but if it gets big enough, other people will see it too before it's even read on here. The subreddit's just Ode to Ghosts. It's not Ode to Ghosts podcast. And it's sad. There are currently only 2 members, and it's the 2 of us. So we would love for you to join us.
Exactly. Discussion on your story. Sorry, I'm still typing.
Are we done here?
Well, that was our last story.
Yeah.
So, I suppose.
Okay. Well, I'm just very scarred at the moment. So I need you.
Maybe you should talk through your feelings.
No, I need you to. I'm just. As much as I say I don't want to experience something like that, I just want to be able to say I know something like this is real. Like I would love to be able to.
That's true.
I would love to be able to say I know. Well, okay. Less on the demon-y stuff, more on like the unexplained, like alien stuff. Like I would love to be able to say.
Personally, I would rather experience a demon in my home than have an experience with aliens, unless it's a nice alien.
I don't even mean necessarily being abducted. Like I've never even seen like a UFO or anything. Like let's start small.
I don't know if I've ever seen a UFO. I've seen things flashing in the sky that like kind of look weird, but I feel like everybody always has an explanation for them every time. So
start me on something Scream level, like the same tier. We've got Scream. We've got maybe seeing a UFO. We've got
Scream level or like, because I don't know if you want to be starting out with Scream. And
well, no,
being
like I mean, like on the same tier. Like I'm able to
murder.
watch Scream with no problem.
Okay.
I would be able to see a UFO with no problem. I'd actually be like, wow, that's really cool. And I'd like to share this experience with other people and have them laugh at me.
Yeah. And I feel like, I guess like the point of this podcast also is to be able to talk about these experiences with, and like also give these people the grace of being like, I believe you. Because I feel like sometimes it can be hard to, especially when it comes to like aliens or like cryptids, I feel like it's hard sometimes to describe it to people because there's so many people that just don't want to believe it.
Yeah, like
which I get if you're a skeptic, but like also I feel like,
but like I I don't mean to be negative whenever I am presenting these arguments because I am just a skeptic. But if you are going through the work to type all of this up and to allow us to read it and everything, I'm going to believe you. And like this guy, I believe very, very much.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just the way that he described it and like wrote it doesn't feel very fakey to me.
Mm-mm.
And also the one with the gin doctor, she was like very
Yeah. And
straightforward
she
and
also came with receipts. She had her medical record. Like, I don't think she would just randomly put out her um test results
yeah.
for.
I would love like I know she said that she doesn't have the original records whenever she was Hep C positive. But if you ever come across those records one day, you're letting us read your story. So we would love if you ever come across them, send them our way. We're not going to put them up on the screen right here because I'm not putting any records up on the screen. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it would be cool to see that, the change in them at least.
yeah. And if you ever find out any more information about the Gen Doctor, reconnect with him or something, we'll be here
Mm-hmm.
waiting for you because that is a crazy story.
Mm-hmm. For sure. That goes to like really anybody who we've read stories from. Like, if you have any, like, if something else happens to you, or if you have other things that you remember happening to you or whatever, we'd be happy to read them. So just hit us up with your stories.
My brain is shutting down.
Shutting down.
Yeah,
Why?
I'm falling asleep.
Doesn't look like it.
I
Oh, now you are.
I need you to close us out.
All right. That was our episode for this week. Hope you enjoyed. And we'll see you next week.
We will see you next time.
Bye.